Well, I was going to say, even Wi-Fi, if you're on Wi-Fi, that's kind of a broadcast, okay? Anybody in the vicinity of that Wi-Fi can pick it up and monitor what you're doing on your computer.
Now, the same thing applies with the Xbox games and all these video consoles, correct?
Yeah, they're getting into that too and bugging those. Yep, that's for sure.
Yeah, so these kids have them all in their rooms, have no idea that they could be being watched or listened to in the privacy of their own bedrooms.
Yep, or wherever they are, yeah.
Absolutely amazing, Wally.
Yep.
I mean, this is stuff I've been talking about the last, 2 years, and I went through, I still occasionally get stalked, but I have to keep my cell phone off and the battery out. Can they still track that phone even with the battery out of it?
I think there's a little residual power in it that can be that touches with the towers, local towers. So as long as that happens, they can certainly see where you are, the towers that are close to you anyway.
Yeah, I've found through the research, Bill, that there's more than just, I mean, so many different agencies involved, and they're all doing things that they probably shouldn't be doing. And I've noticed there's a lot of this organized stalking and what have you going on. So the hard part is that you don't even know who's behind it, and then you have Homeland Security getting involved with some of this stuff.
Yes, and like the Reuters did an article on the law enforcement use of this data that NSA is collecting. And they made a comment that they took from one of the federal agents that was using the data. And he said, "This is such a great program. I just hope we can keep it secret." Now, this gets back to what we really have today, which is a covert government that's running our business, and we don't know what they're doing. So in other words, it's our secret, back behind the door government.
Well, a big part of this it would be the military-industrial complex, correct?
Yeah, well, it's a parallel one that deals primarily with the intelligence agencies. So there's like 16 intelligence agencies, and they have a separate network to deal with them. The Pentagon has their own, weapons systems people that are doing it. So there's kind of subgroups of it, but they're all connected. It's government and industry collaboration and coordination. That's what you're talking about. We call it the military-industrial intelligence complex, as opposed to just the military-industrial complex.
And now we have a new one, which is the military-industrial media complex.
That's right. Yeah.
Which is getting just as bad.
Well, they are basically not performing the function of a free press, which is to challenge government at every turn, is to make sure that the public knows what the government's doing, and they're not fulfilling that job at all.
And you got the colleges doing the same thing. There's no freedom of speech on the colleges anymore. If you're a right-winger, you can't go there. They throw you right off the stage. But they'll let the far left people come and make all kind of speeches. Matter of fact, much of the far left from the 60s are college professors now. That's a scary thought.
Yeah. That's right. Well, they have a biased opinion, I think, is what you could say.
Yeah, well, you got more than that. They got a program that they want to overthrow this country.
Now, Bill, we've talked a lot about the power grid here in the show too, right. and we've brought this up to a lot of people's attentions, and including myself. I know things I should do, but I don't. I don't stock up anything. I don't do any preparations that I probably should. But the power grid is a serious issue, and being hacked and what have you, and or being attacked by terrorists via physically or being hacked. What's your take on the power grid and how serious of a problem that can be?
Well, I think I think you have. It's a question of whether or not the network that they're using to control that is the internet or a separate network. If it's a separate network, I think it's much more secure. But if it goes through the internet, it's opening itself up to being hacked. I'm not sure what the power grid communications are to set up and manage the flow and switching of power around the grid is. See, that's what I'm not sure about. So I don't know what I could, I don't know if I could make any meaningful comment on that, except to say that if they have a separate communications line away from the internet, why they may be more secure.
Well, we showed a couple times Judge Janine, and we told everyone to watch her Saturday nights on Fox News. She did a special, Wally, what was that, like a month straight, it seemed like, on the power grid, and had all the experts, and they claim that if this grid goes down, it'll change humanity as we know it. So
it would be a major problem for restoration of the grid, but it depends on whether it's destroyed or it's a software issue. If it's a software issue, it may take a couple of days to fix, but if it's a hardware issue like sabotage or something like that, could be much more difficult, I think.
Well, that's what they had out in California. There was sabotage there, and those people were long gone before they even knew they had a problem. And,
right. Well,
and maybe it was just a practice run, on something larger.
Yep.
That's what I'm afraid of.
now, Bill, we talked a lot about different, electronic warfare type technology, and my concern in the future is the more I research this, like the TSA's coming out with these machines that can actually read your brain waves, and want to use them like in airports, what have you. And it seems like technology is getting far ahead of what it should be, and or our laws aren't protecting us from this technology. But what do you think is the most not scariest, but the most concerning or alarming thing in the future that you say?
Well, it's the continuation of our government collecting all this data in coordination with companies. Companies are doing a lot of this too, except they're using it primarily to sell you things, or they sell data to other companies who want to sell you something. So the data itself is valuable in terms of a commodity that it can sell as well. So it's just a coordination and pairing of those two groups gives the central government an awful lot of power, a lot more than our Constitution was ever meant for them to have. So that's really that's the big danger I see, is getting the government to the point where it does that and has that kind of knowledge about all the citizens in the country. Not only that, but everybody around the world. So they have assembled the information that is resident in their databases to do industrial espionage on a worldwide scale, as well as blackmailing anybody in the world. So, this kind of power does not belong in any central bureaucrat or politician's hands. They for sure will use it. Take, for example, the Tea Party and the Occupy groups and religious groups trying to get politically active. All those things are happening now. It's not something or they get rid of people like Generals Petraeus and Allen or Elliot Spitzer because he was going after the bankers after that swindle, the swindling that happened with the monetary crisis in 2008. And they had to get rid of him because he was going to do that. They wanted to protect the banking system. So that's why they got rid of him. So this kind of power does not belong in the government's hands or in any bureaucrats or politician or even in companies.
Well, what frightens me is we got a Secretary of State who in the 60s was negotiating with the North Vietnamese to have peace in Vietnam. Now, this guy was anti-war. No, he wasn't anti-war. He was pro-Vietnam. He wanted them to win the war. That's what he was trying to do. Now he's the Secretary of State, and he's going all over the world negotiating our positions in the world. And that is scary. That is scary. He's going to all these different people and negotiating things. And I'm frightened of that also. And we got to be worried about a guy like that also. And he also ran for the president of the United States. Stop and think about that. Another John Kerry we're talking about, yeah.
Well, I was going to say, I just think that we also have a very unclear plan for foreign policy. I don't know what that plan is.
They don't know what it is.
That's right. That's what's scary.
Now, recently, you just started up a organization, exposefacts.org, correct?
Yes, I'm on that board there. I'm going to be helping them assess the information that comes in. Yeah.
All right.
And the whole idea there is to try to support whistleblowers in any department of government or in any industry, really. And the whole process is to try to protect their identities as they bring that information forward. So we're trying to keep them their anonymity and yet be able to help them get the information out that deserves to be in the public arena.
Now, what is it? Daniel Ellsberg, he's on that committee also?
Yes, he is. Yep.
All right.
And I think there's up to 40 reporters that are on it, and some lawyers and whistleblowers like from NSA and various government agencies, FBI, and some other industrial whistleblowers who came out of industry. So there's a mixture of whistleblowers and lawyers and reporters, and Dan's in it. So.
And that's Expose, EXPOSE. That's Expose Facts, FACTS.org. Exposefacts.org, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yep.
That fix.
Yeah, so that's, I've followed a lot of this different things with, like Thomas Drake and the different, there's all different whistleblowers from different agencies also, from the CIA, the FBI, you had Ted, Gunderson, and different people that speak out, and they ended up targeted themselves. Have you been targeted at all, Bill?
Oh yeah, they attempted to indict me 3 separate times on false charges, I might add, and I caught them on that at every time. That's the reason I'm not in jail, because I actually assembled information of malicious prosecution on their part, where they were fabricating evidence and then drawing up an indictment on me, as well as my other co-whistleblowers on NSA. That's what they did to Tom Drake. They manufactured evidence and tried to take it into court. Well, they got caught at that too. That's why they lost that case. They were about to be slammed with falsification of evidence. That's a felony also.
Now, Thomas Drake, did you work alongside of him with the NSA?
Well, I didn't work alongside him, but I knew him.
Okay.
I knew him for about I think 4 or 5 years there before I left, something like that. And well, go ahead.
Now what? Just briefly, when you said that they came after you, was it anything physical or I'm not sure how they would come after you. So I'm a little curious if if you were stalked or what have you.
Well, they sent the FBI to raid me and at my home, as well as the homes. They raided simultaneously Diane Rourke on the West Coast and Kirk Wiebe and me on the East Coast, and then shortly, about an hour later or something like that, Ed Loomis over here. Those were the 4 people who signed the DOD IG complaint against NSA back in 2002. So it was retribution, and they wanted to shut us up because we were complaining internally in the government about this unconstitutional collection of data by NSA. So they wanted us shut up. So they sent the FBI at us, and the first I knew they were in my home was I was getting out of the shower, and this FBI agent came into the bathroom pointing a gun at me. So that's when I knew they were